Once you start to take ownership for all of this, the messiness, the vulnerabilities, you stop being afraid of them. It takes away their power and it becomes part of your narrative.
My name is Joe Gerstan. I'm a professional speaker.
I'm Jason Lortzen. I'm the tall half of Talent Anarchy. I'm a professional speaker, part of the most dynamic professional speaking team out there.
And I carry the double burden in this relationship of not only being the most attractive one, but also the wisest.
Well, I think the origin story goes clear back to a really terrible place to work in 1998. Both worked together at this place, and for the first probably 2 or 3 months, I actually thought Joe wanted to punch me in the face every time I saw him in the hallway, because he just had this really intense kind of scowl on his face, I thought. And then eventually we went and had some beers and became, I think, pretty fast friends. That ultimately led us to doing a speaking project together through the Omaha Chamber of Commerce. And we were magic together. We were screwing around, having fun, and people loved it. And then somehow, some way, we convinced somebody to pay us to do it once. And then once we had a little taste, it was like, let's do this. Let's make this real.
We do change. We are not static things. At one point in my life, I said out loud and in public I would never be caught dead driving a minivan. I drive a big, ridiculous minivan today, and I love our minivan. And I'm not lying now, and I wasn't lying then. Who I am has changed, right? I used to be single and hip and cool and didn't have any kids. I literally couldn't wrap my head around what happened to you in your life that you found yourself in a vehicle like that. It didn't make any sense to me, right? And the same is true of you. You're going to change as you go through life. Your values, your priorities, all of those things are going to change. So this is something that needs to be an ongoing part of your life. But we start with awareness, and Jason's going to kick that off.
I must have missed the part in your life when you were hip and cool. I must have been before we met.
The first thing is that there's 2 of us on stage, and you almost never see that. Not only is there 2 of us on stage giving the message together, but we have a pretty unique relationship and a pretty unique energy. I don't think you're going to find it anywhere else.
And it's great when they switch out because it keeps me interested the whole time. It's constantly keeping my brain stimulated. Loved it.
Agreed, ditto. And a little bit of different perspective from both of them, which is great.
Yeah.
We will be pulled by conformity, and this is why it's so important to get clear on who we are and who we are, where we are going. Because when we get to this work will require effort. Right? The path to authenticity isn't always an easy one, but I can promise that it is always worth it.
So a few practices and tools to help you on the integrity piece. And the first one is what Jason was kind of alluding to with his story. Know that there's going to be some resistance. If it's really, really important for you to be everyone's cup of tea, authenticity is probably not your game.
We also are relatable. We bring in stories about our family, our kids, our spouses. We connect our work back to our real life experience, and I think people feel like they can see themselves in the stories, in the message, and it feels possible to them when they leave. They understand that they can do this.
I set a lot of big goals for myself, and I would consider myself an achiever, right? What are those barriers that are keeping you from getting there so that I can be more purposeful in what I do?
I can remember years and years ago when I was in a very different place and role professionally. I can remember clearly laying in bed at night with a pit in my stomach because I didn't want to go to work the next day. Frequently that happening, especially on Sunday nights. Sunday nights were the worst. And it'd be about 1 o'clock in the morning and I still wasn't asleep, and I'd start to think about maybe I should call in sick, and then I realized I just called in sick last week. Can't do it again this week. That's a hard way to live. That's a hard way to live. And part of the reason why I was stuck there is because I didn't have clarity on who I was and what I cared about.
I think another one of the things that makes us kind of unique is that I don't think we just focus on the content or that we just focus on the delivery. I think we care very much about both of them. I think a lot of folks walk out of our sessions having heard some thought-provoking stuff, but it hasn't been delivered in a dry, boring way. If you show up at a Talent Anarchy keynote, you may dance, you may sing, you may laugh, you may cry, but you're still going to take away some valuable and applicable stuff that's good for you.
I think their energy is inspiring, and I love the handout that they have. They're obviously great friends, and they're the perfect pair to talk about such incredible topics.
I think one of the injustices we often do to people as managers and as organizations is we find talent and then we try to squeeze it into the mold or the box that works best for us. And I think one of the things that we can very powerfully do as leaders who are leading authentically and with authenticity is understanding and prioritizing the individual.
We want people to be able to walk out the door, and if they choose to put stuff to work, to change their work experience immediately.
I get to travel around the country with my best friend, do something I love to do, and also help people along the way. Like, what's not to love about that? So it's fun.